Welcome to this episode of Trojan Poetry. This week I've chosen the poem. Mike has not read it. And this is going to be a short and sweet episode because I don't know quite what to think of this one. I was looking for poems for last week's horror Halloween theme, and this is one of them that came up on a list of great horror poems. But we'll see what you think.
Okay.
Because it's a little bit different, obviously, from the one last week. So here we go. This is called The Space Heater by Sharon Olds. Even the title is Space Heater. Imagine a haunted space heater. Like a bad Stephen King knockoff.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, here we go. On the then below zero day, it was on, near the patient's chair, the old heater kept by the analyst's couch at the end, like the infant's headstone that was added near the foot of my father's grave. And it was hot, with the almost laughing satire of a fire's heat, the little coils like hairs in hell. And it was making a group of sick noises. I wanted the doctor to turn it off, but I couldn't seem to ask, so I just stared, but it did not budge. The doctor turned his heavy, soft palm outward toward me, inviting me to speak. I said, "If you're cold, are you cold? But if it's on for me." He held his palm outward toward me. I tried to ask, but I only muttered, but he said, "Of course," as if I had asked, and he stood up and approached the heater, and then stood on one foot and threw himself toward the wall with one hand, and with the other hand reached down behind the couch to pull the plug out. I looked away. I had not known he would have to bend like that, and I was so moved that he would act undignified to help me that I cried, not trying to stop, but as if the moans made sentences which bore some human message. If he would cast himself toward the outlet for me, as if bending with me in my old shame and horror, then I would rest on his art. And the heater purred, like a creature or the familiar of a creature, or the child of a familiar, the father of a child, the spirit of a father, the healing of a spirit, the vision of healing, the heat of vision, the power of heat, the pleasure of power.
All right. Well, I think that this space heater, there's more than meets the eye, John.
Say what?
I'll start with it.
Say
I've
what?
got the power. Snap, anybody? So I
The
think
power of heat.
the power of the babe, the
heat
power
of
of the
vision.
child. And it was hot with the almost laughing satire of a fire's heat. I thought that was an interesting line, with the almost laughing satire of a fire's heat. How is, I guess a fire's heat is laughing as it kind of, sparks and shoots around you and everything. The little coils like hairs in hell, that's a heck of a simile. It was making a group of sick noises.
Yeah, a group of sick noises. Like
Right,
the word
so
group.
yeah,
is
like
strange,
what else
right?
was it making? So then my question is, what's so offensive about that to this person? Obviously, when she mentions the analyst's couch, the patient's chair, she's there with her psychiatrist, psychologist, what have you, and they're in session, in a therapy session. But what's so scary about that? Why is it so offensive to her? And then when he leans over
Well, it's too warm.
to
You
disconnect
had that
it,
happen, right? Like
Well,
the
not
space heaters. I don't like
not
that
to the point where I have to
concentrated
cry
heat.
and make moaning sounds.
Well, but she does that because he kindly offers to help.
Right, but I don't think it's just the heat though. I mean, the fact that it's
Well,
making
right.
the sick noises. I mean, everything about the heater is alien and evil to
Yeah.
her almost. And it's just curious to me because I still don't understand why. I don't understand what's so offensive
You
about
don't?
this heater. Well, you tell me, John. What offended you about it that causes you to obsess over it like this?
Yeah. I mean, I was hooked more. I mean, obviously, those are great questions. I was hooked to the line about the headstone, the infant's headstone that was added near the foot of my father's grave. So right now, we've got a backstory, right? The narrator, the speaker, lost a sibling, I would assume, at some point, and it was an infant. And then the kindness of the therapist reaching over and making him or herself very awkward, right? And the person, it seems so overwhelmed, obviously, with that kindness, I cried, not trying to stop, but as if the moans made sentences which bore some human message, right? Like, she's so emotional because of the kindness. And obviously her father has passed away,
And
right?
then
Because
she-
he's got
yeah.
a grave. And so she maybe is thinking that the therapist is acting kind like her father might have.
Well, what she mentions, it says, he would cast himself toward the outlet for me as if bending with me in my old shame and horror. So, and that's also unresolved. What's the shame and horror
Right.
about? Is it about something to do with her father? Is it about something to do with the infant that died?
But that's when the heater changes from the sick noises to the purring, right? So with up here, it's got sick noises. Down here, it's purring after he does that. So she says, once he did that, then I would rest on his art. Like she's going to relax. She's going to let herself be taken care of. And the heater purrs. It's like, and then what really got me was that, like, she loses language.
Well, it's a transformation at the end when you said
Yeah.
that, you know, and mentioned the infant's headstone at the top. Like a creature or familiar of a creature. So the heater stands in for someone, which would be, and then it goes into the child of a
Right.
familiar, the father of a child. So then it mentions the infant under the headstone. Then it mentions
Right.
the father.
the spirit of a
The
father.
the spirit of a father who she either misses or who tortured her. The healing of a spirit, her spirit. The vision of healing, she wants it. And then the heat of vision, the power of heat, which goes back to the heater. But then the last line, the pleasure of power.
Right.
Whose power is it? Is it the power that she feels now, or the power that the doctor has over her, or that her father had over her?
Yeah. I really like that it almost becomes rhapsodic, right? Like she just completely, at the end, the whole plot falls apart and it's just this kind of, not rambling, but it just pours out of her.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the moans made sentences which
Right.
bore some human message. It's like she's trying to put that into words, like
Right.
the stream of consciousness. Doctor, here's what I'm thinking, and she's just like, "Blah,"
Right.
you know, getting it all out.
Right.
Even though it's very hard to understand at first, but when you think about it, it's
still
her
kind of hard to
going back.
understand.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's her going back through all the references in the
Right.
poem.
Right.
But that last line is so cryptic. The pleasure of
Right.
power. Whose power is it?
Right.
That seems like the first positive
Well,
word
because
in this.
he's
in this
unplugging
poem,
the
is pleasure.
power.
So he feels the pleasure of the power.
Well, no, because-
that is his art. It says, "I would rest on his art," and the pleasure of power is that this guy is able to unhook this thought process
Right.
for her. Right, like he unplugs
Okay.
it, and then the thoughts stop.
Because that is where the literal power is, right? Him unplugging the heater from the power so that it will stop,
Right.
right?
So the pleasure of power is the heater being able to personify
Yeah.
the dead child in the hairs of hell.
I love it.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it keeps you going. I
Yeah.
mean, you think you read it and you get one little image and then you see 100 more, you know?
Right, right.
So I don't know. I want to know the answer to that last line, but I'm not sure that there is one, and that's what makes poetry so great,
Yeah.
right? You
Yep.
keep going.
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching. Please join the conversation in the comments on YouTube or on Twitter at Trojan Poetry DGN. Also, check out our website at trojanpoetrydgn.blogspot.com.